Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. From wherever you are in the world, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for another HPP Innovation Week session titled In-House versus Outsourcing HPP Operation. Before we get started today, I'd like to mention a few housewarming notes. If you have any technical difficulties throughout the session, please email marketing@hyperbaric.com. Also, remember you have a chat during the session. We have two special guest panelists, Tom Woodward and Douglas Gilman. They'll be discussing the pros and cons of having an in-house HPP operation versus outsourcing, and who also happen to have a unique partnership. I'd like to first introduce Tom Woodward, Chief Commercial Officer of Universal Pure, the leading U.S. high-pressure processing tolling company. Tom has over 25 years of domestic and international experience in the food ingredients, food processing, and food packaging industries. Prior to joining Universal Pure, Tom served as Vice President of Sales for Avure Technologies, focusing on the global strategy and growth for Avure's high-pressure food processing systems. Tom holds a Master's of Business Administration degree from Southern Methodist University and a bachelor's degree from the University of San Diego. Tom, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Anthony, for inviting me to speak today. I appreciate it. What I'd like to talk about is the path that brands take when they decide to move into HPP and the decision-making process to outsource their HPP activities or take them in-house. I'd like to start with the agenda, just quickly introduce Universal Pure, then talk a little bit about the outsourcing versus in-house operations, address some key factors to consider when looking at your HPP experience, talk a little bit about the value in partnership, such as we have with the Sofresco Good Crop Company, and then open up to Q&A. At Universal Pure, we really offer the industry's leading technical knowledge and know-how and best in class for HPP. We have 5 facilities across the United States, with a dedicated team of over 500 people, quality assurance at each one of our facilities, significant experience with regards to HPP and other cold chain solutions to support our customers, and continuous improvement efforts ongoing to really work with our customers to support them so that they can have the most efficient, effective, and cost-effective HPP experience available. And of course, we're in compliance with FDA, USDA, organic SQF certifications, et cetera. And we work closely with both Avure and Hyperbaric as we have their equipment, so we can really leverage the best of both worlds there. At Universal Pure, as I said before, we have 5 facilities across the United States, really covering a large portion of North America. We're the largest provider of HPP services. We have over 15 machines with at least 2 HPP machines in each one of our facilities, which provides for great redundancy and capacity for our customers. And we continue to expand our customer base, and we've actually processed over 1 billion pounds of HPP product over our 20 years in existence. What I'd like to really dive down into is what's the best decision for a company or a brand when moving into HPP? Is it best to outsource, or is it best for the brand to consider bringing the HPP processing internal? And what are the benefits of each? So some of the key factors to consider from our perspective at Universal Pure, when we have these discussions with our customers, or when our potential customers come to us, we always have these discussions with them, and we say there's 6 things you need to consider when looking at outsourcing versus bringing HPP in-house. And the first is the CapEx and the operational expense. What are those? What are the costs associated? What are the expenses associated? It's a large investment, and it really needs to be considered deeply. What is the learning curve? You just don't install an HPP machine and turn it on and expect 100% efficiencies in the first day. There is a learning curve involved. And what engineering expertise is required? and mechanical expertise. These machines are complex and they require well-skilled technicians to support them. There's also the ramp up and ramp down considerations. HPP machines have a lot of capacity, and it's a big investment, and brands need to consider, do they have the capacity at heavy times during the year to support their processes with just one machine, and during low times of the year, maybe times of the year when the product isn't selling quite as rapidly, do they have additional capacity that they need to consider? They need to consider production line efficiencies. How does the rest of the production line affect HPP and vice versa? And one thing we always stress is, what is your core business? And what is the brand's core business? Is it manufacturing, or is it the brand itself and building the brand and its equity? The capital expenditure, always an important discussion to have, and an important consideration when moving on the path of HPP. The machines are expensive. It's a big capital investment. The largest machines range from $3 to $3.5 million, and that's just the cost of the machine to get started. That's just the initial investment. There's also the consideration about additional equipment, things from inkjetting, date coders, cartoning, conveyors, loading equipment, unloading equipment, drying equipment. So those are also considerations that the brand must have when looking at HPP, and that can range anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000 or above, depending on the complexity of your line. And also the investment required for installing the equipment. What is the cost of installation? That can run up into the close to $100,000 itself. And what are the considerations with regards to preparing your facility for the installation of HPP, reinforcing floors, opening up walls, adding refrigeration. So a lot of financial decisions need to be made before the decision to insource or outsource is approached. Operating expenses themselves, as I said before, are quite important to understand. It's going to take a staff of 7 to 9 people on the line just for one HPP machine per shift with a supervisor. The maintenance staff, it's important to always have maintenance on hand. The machines are very reliable, but they're complex as well, and they require spare parts. The spare parts themselves can run up to the area of $6.50, $7 per cycle. And again, the brand needs to understand what is their tolerance for not only the spare parts cost, but holding a spare parts inventory, which can amount up to the area of $150,000 annually. The maintenance and downtime, there will be maintenance and downtime to consider when investing in HPP equipment, and the utilization. To justify an HPP machine, we typically look at, from Universal's perspective, somewhere in the area of 25 to 30 million pounds per year, or 25,000 cycles per year per machine to justify the investment. So it ends up being, when you look at the spare parts cost associated with HPP, you really have to consider, how many cycles am I going to run? And above and beyond the initial investment, what will my cost of spare parts be? Other costs are involved, site-specific type costs, utilities, what type of inkjet will you use, what type of labeling, what type of cartons, who packs those cartons, storage, pre-HPP and post-HPP. So all operating expense considerations that really need to be looked at when, again, balancing that decision between insourcing and outsourcing. The learning curve, as I mentioned before, as I said before, you just simply don't install a machine and run it at 100% capacity and efficiencies during week one. It really does take time to understand the machine, how to operate it properly, how to operate it efficiently. And these machines are complex. They're very productive, but they're complex. And it's important to understand what, again, is the learning curve. When do we maintain the machine? When do we take it down for maintenance? How how much time do we need to spend on it, both as a operational exercise, and how much time does management need to spend on deciding when and how and who operates the machine and how many shifts do we run a day, et cetera. So quite a few considerations that really need to be learned here during that ramp-up process, which can take up to a year to really get efficient on handling and operating the machine. As I touched on before, required engineering expertise. Again, it's very, very important to have a full complement of skilled and educated maintenance staff and engineers. Again, the machines are complex. We at Universal have invested significant dollars in hiring and continuous training of our engineering and maintenance people to ensure that these machines are running efficiently and effectively around the clock. So again, very important that you have highly competent, highly skilled folks to support this equipment. Speed and flexibility, again, another consideration. It's a big investment, and it's not just the machine, as I said before, it's the ancillary equipment, the equipment that comes to load the machine and host HPP machine. It's the investment in the facility itself to host an HPP piece of equipment. And you may face seasonal volume surges, or you may face seasonal drops in volume, and you really need to consider that. How flexible can you be when you have more volume than the capacity can support? Can you bring on extra shifts? Or if it's a low season, or if an SKU is canceled by a customer, do you want that excess capacity sitting in your facility, and that investment sitting idle? So it again, it's a big decision, and you really need to understand the speed and the flexibility associated with your machine so you can operate efficiently. Production line efficiency impacts. Operational efficiency is important here. HPP is a batch process. Often other processes within a manufacturing facility are inline. So you need to understand, do you need to build additional inventory on the front end or the back end of the machine to match that with the capacity and the speed of the equipment? We've done that for years at Universal. We understand the flows and the timing of our customers and their processes. So we've been able to match our capacity and our capabilities with the needs of the customer. But it is something that's learned over time, and it is something that, again, the brand must consider when manufacturing. Can my machine keep up with my front-end capacity, and how do we handle the post-HPP? The speed of the machine, can it output products as quickly as we need to meet the needs of the market? And finally, again, a big discussion we have with our customers is when they're looking at HPP, not only at HPP itself, but often considering should they go to insourcing, we ask them, is that your core business? It's a large investment. It's an investment in time. It's an investment in labor, which is hard to get these days. It's an investment in maintenance. It's scheduling. Is it better to make that investment in capital X and equipment and plant, or is it better to generate your resources and focus on growing your brand and building the equity in your brand? Again, up to the individual brand, but it is a very valid and transparent discussion we like to have with our customers. We feel that we've made the investment at Universal. We are experts at maintaining and running the equipment. We can give the customers a good price. And we always say that before you make that investment, make sure you're consistent with your core efforts and where you really want to generate your resources. Is it on the equipment side, on manufacturing, or is it on building your core business? So again, just to reiterate, those key factors are always important in the discussion process and in the evaluation process with brands. Do the investments in the operating costs support a solid business case to perform HPP in-house? Or should you let an outsourcing entity like Universal Peer, who's made those investments in time, people, efficiencies, handle your HPP? Always consider the costs associated with equipment reliability and redundancy. One machine is great. Machines do sometimes break down. Do you have that second machine? Do you need a second machine to support your processes? And customers won't wait if your machine goes down. So should you use outsourcing, where in Universal's example, we have at least 2 machines in every one of our 5 facilities? And what are my ongoing costs of spare parts and labor, increasing labor rates? And does performing HPP in-house support your core business focus? I addressed that a moment ago. Again, are you a manufacturer or are you building your brand? Just something to consider. And then, as I addressed before early in my couple of minutes here, the value in partnership. Our friends from Sofresco and we really have in the States, and I'm sure Douglas will touch on this in his portion of the presentation, but it's really important to have a great relationship with your customers and to understand what's important with regards to communicating when it comes to HPP processing, what are the needs of the brand, and how the HPP manufacturing or processing can support that. We always say, let the service provider manage the complexities of volume. As a brand, you'll have uptime and downtime, unknowns in the market. We've made that investment so you don't have to have equipment that's sitting idle or too much volume for your capacity. You can avoid the upfront operational cost and the capital costs by utilizing an outsourcing provider. Again, you can focus your resources on your core business. And you maintain the flexibility to ramp up or ramp down quickly with an outsourcing provider. Light times of the year versus heavy times of the year. We're prepared for that at Universal. We made the investment. We understand those fluctuations in our customers' business. You don't want underutilized equipment sitting around. We've balanced that out over the years in our knowledge of the industry. And if you have multiple manufacturing sites, where do you put that HPP machine? Do you put one in each facility? Do you dedicate it to a certain facility? Again, with Universal, we've got 5 facilities across the United States, so we've got good balance, we've got good redundancy, and we can handle that capacity regardless of where you make your food products and where you process your brands. So with that, I say thank you. Anthony, thank you for hosting me today. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about outsourcing versus in-house HPP.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for a very insightful presentation. I'd like to now introduce our other guest panelist, Douglas Gilman. Douglas Gilman is the co-founder and co-CEO of GL, a family business with 78 years of activity. It owns 3 production units, 2 of which are in the national territory and 1 in the US in the state of Pennsylvania. In Portugal, 1 unit is dedicated to the production of sandwiches and salads, and the second is a HPP production unit. In the US, the company focuses on the production of HPP juices and smoothie bowls. In 2007, So Natural launched on the market the first brand of cold-pressed juices and HPP 100% natural in Europe, which exports to more than 25 countries. Douglas, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Anthony. Here we are. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you very much for your presentation. And thank you, Tom. Also, it is true, everything you said. We have both. We have in-house and we have outsourcing. We started, our company started 78 years ago. And it has remained in the Gilman family throughout all these years. We've passed through a lot of wars. We are now ending this COVID war, the last one, and we are ready for the new challenges. So we have 15 years of HPP expertise. We started in Europe. We were the first brand of HPP juices in Europe. And by that time, there was no outsourcing facilities of HPP in Europe, and we had to go for machinery. We had to buy an HPP machine, and we had all these risks. In the US, and we still continue with, we have HPP machine here in Portugal, and in the US, we thought another way. It was a new country for us. We wanted to keep and focus on our production of our juice, and make sure that the product was exactly as we were doing in Europe, and we decided to outsource the HPP. And this is the most very good decision we had at that time. Of course, for outsourcing an HPP provider, it's very important that you have a top, very very good company as an HPP provider, and we were lucky. We worked with the Universal Pure, and everything is going very smooth. And I will go through that in the next pages. So we are quality freak. We for us, quality is the most important thing, and we have all the certifications in Europe and in the US, in our site in the US. We have SQF in the US and the IFS in Europe. We are now from our sites in Portugal, we are exporting to 23 countries in Europe, and from our site in US, where we produce our juice and we HPP with Universal Pure, we are selling and we are growing very well in the US, and it's getting better. Even with COVID, it's getting better. Our business in the US is very promising. So we, in Malvern, Pennsylvania, we are producing mainly juices. We outsource our production to Universal Pure, and we are around 30 workers, and we have about 3,000 square meters of floor, of working floor. In Azambuja, Portugal, we do HPP juices. We do HPP juice smoothies, we do HPP hummus, HPP salads, etc. And we have around 200 workers, 9,000 square meters, and we are a high-level certificate IFS quality certificate. We also are quite important in the Iberian Peninsula, where we produce snacks and fresh snacks, salads, wraps, and sandwiches, mainly for the airlines. This is a little picture what we do. So on the left side we have two brands, So Fresco brand and So Natural brand. So Natural is the European brand, So Fresco is the American brand, and they all have this smiling cloud. And we do in Europe, we do all these different products. In the US, we are still only, from now we are still only producing juices, HPP juices. And then we have the other brand, which is doing the fresh, in Europe, the fresh products. This is a little fast. We do everything from fresh produce. This is, for us, is a must. We've started 15 years ago doing from fresh produce, all the juices, and we will continue like this. And this is why we wanted to control our manufacturing in the US. And we decided to invest mainly on the manufacturing of the juice and outsource the HPP to Universal Pure. So the portfolio of So Natural, mainly all this is from So Natural. So Fresco is only the juices, and probably in the very near future we will have also we'll increase our portfolio in the US. This is gives you a little bit juices, smoothies, all in HPP, hummus in HPP, and salads in HPP. This is quite a new product we have. This is just for you to see a little bit the type of salads that we are doing now. There's quite a good, big success in Europe. We can give 60 days shelf life on this type of salads, and they are very healthy and very trendy, as you can see. We also do smoothies, and smoothies we do them in plastic bags. This is for the food service, for the coffee shops, etc. And this is all this overnight oats and smoothies. This is all also in HPP. And I would like to go a little bit. Well, Tom has talked a lot about the good part of the outsourcing, and I would like to go a little bit on both, to talk a little bit, because we have experience on both cases. So in the US, it's as Tom said, we decided to go for outsourcing HPP. And why? Because we wanted it, because first of all, it's a question of investment. It's a huge investment. We wanted to keep control of our production, of our juice production, and it was too much to have HPP, all the maintenance and all this, and so we decided to join and to partnership with Universal. We talked a lot about that with Universal, and this is such a great, it's so good, this partnership, that we don't feel that Universal is a third party provider. We work all our problems we share with Universal. Universal share their problems with us, and it's exactly like it was ours, and we work very well. One of the advantages we have on this is that if we want to increase our position in the US, and if we want to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, we can always go with our partnership, and we can always keep investing on the juice part, and on the HPP part, we will continue with our partners. So this is a very good. So when we are starting a new business on a new country, and money is always a very, very, very difficult situation. So you don't have money for everything, and investment is always the big part of it. We decided to do this, and we think we've done the good choice, and we will continue to do that in the US. In Portugal, it was a totally different story. There was no toolers at that time when we started, so it was everything very new on HPP by that time, and we've done it all from ourselves. What if it is better or not? It has a problem, which is the initial investment. We need more quality control. Because it's two productions. It's the production of the product and the HPP production. It's totally different. We are happy with both. In the future, if we have to go for a new country or any other place, we will go for outsourcing of HPP. And when quantities are huge and big, then probably we will think to have HPP in house. So, but it's always the same weight in the balance. It's almost the same weight in the balance. So it's very difficult to say what is the best to do. So this is a little bit our experience on HPP. Thank you very much, and I'll pass to Anthony.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas, for your insightful presentation. The unique and transparent partnership between Universal Pure and Sofresco is a true success story. With the few minutes we have left, I'd like to open the floor for questions. I'd ask both of you to turn on your cameras. Now that we're good to go, Tom, I'll start off with you. One of the pros of having an in-house HPP operation is full product control. How do you ensure product quality control to your customers?
That's a great question, Anthony. Yes, product control is important. One of the things we do with our customers is long before we begin processing their products, we enter a series of discussions with the customer. We're very transparent about what it's going to take to process the equipment, the products. We have the discussion about processing time and the required pressure to effectively treat the product. We discuss the handling. We discuss the application itself and the packaging. So we go through a long series of questions to ensure that we are aligned with our customer. And beyond that, we enter into a processing agreement that states what the specific needs are to effectively and safely process the products. In addition to that, there is documentation along the way during the steps of the actual processing that ensures we are adhering to those steps. So very, very strict policies and processes to ensure that the customer is receiving a high quality, safe product. In addition, as I said before, we have quality at all 5 of our facilities. We have quality assurance managers and a quality assurance lead on every shift during the day. So very, very strict in compliance with quality.
Nice, thank you, Tom. Douglas, I'll take the same question to you. Speaking about your in-house operation in Portugal, how do you ensure product quality control to your customers?
This is key. This is key because when you have a product on the market, you have to ensure 120% the quality of the product. This is something, as Tom said, this is for us in the US. It's key also. We work very much together with Universal Pure on this. In both cases, we normally do, for instance, with Universal Pure, we do an audit to validate the GMP and the HPP policies and maintenance records from of the HPP machine. The same we do with the production of HPP in Europe, and then we daily receive, and we have the same as we even in Europe, in Portugal, we have a team that is only allocated to HPP, and so what we have is a processing certificate, which is a COP, where we can see all the records on the critical limits we require. So it's time and pressure. It's very important. So every day we look at all the runs we have, and we see the time and the pressure that is being done when we treat the products. And also something very important, we hold always retention on samples to validate the shelf life and the organoleptic of the characteristics of the product. This is very, very, very important for us, and this is what we do. We do in Portugal. We have a separate, as I said, we use, our team is like Universal Pure for us in the US. They're totally a part of the normal production, so that we control that part quality-wise.
Absolutely. Thank you, Douglas. Tom, I have another question for you. First off, does Universal Pure offer direct-to-consumer services? And second, could you explain that operation to us?
Yes, Universal Pure, Anthony, does offer direct-to-consumer services. We offer that primarily right now on our products coming out of one of our facilities, just because that's where the demand is. But it's available across all of our facilities. What we do is we actually take the orders through our customer's platform, whatever that direct-to-order platform is. We download those orders, we pick them, we process them, we prepare them for FedEx, UPS type delivery, which comes daily. And so while it's not maybe a traditional HPP type of solution for your outsourcing partner, it is something we have initiated here over the last couple of years, because we understand that as our customers have more and more direct-to-consumer needs and their direct-to-consumer business is growing, as evidenced during COVID-19, we've really ramped up our resources to be able to support that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tom. Douglas, from my understanding, you guys recently launched your direct-to-consumer services in the US. Recently, actually, I believe prior to COVID. Can you tell us a little how important D2C is to Sofresco and how that kind of evolved during the COVID period?
It's more and more important. Today, this was a type of service that we didn't provide. We didn't do. We always forgot about that. We were more concerned about the food service, the airlines, and the supermarkets. And right before COVID, we started to do some trials on direct to consumer sales, and that was a good move because it's paying out, and it's increasing all the time, and we can talk with the customers directly. We know what the reaction of the customers. We can develop products with them. We can ask if they like this type of the products that we are thinking to launch, etc. So it's a great move, and it's the future. It's the future. More and more and more. It's a channel, a very big channel.
Absolutely agree with you. Let's get one more question in here, and Tom, I'll ask you this. For a smaller brand that's not familiar with the tolling process, can you explain what it is for this company to approach, for example, Universal Pure, and what that process looks like?
Absolutely. The first step is connecting with Universal. In some cases, maybe we've reached out to them, or maybe they've proactively reached out to us. But it's really understanding the benefits that they can achieve with their brand by using HPP. They should be asking you the questions. Am I trying to extend shelf life so I get a greater geographic reach? Trying as a brand to add another level of safety to my product, and maybe it's both. But it's really important that the emerging brands understand what are they trying to achieve. We'll work with them to help them develop the processes for that. We'll also work with them to understand what kind of packaging is most compatible with HPP and their product. We're not the packaging company, obviously, but our resources throughout the industry, we can guide them to the right packaging manufacturers who are familiar with HPP. And it's important for them to understand what are the regulatory compliance needs as well. Is it FDA? Is it USDA? What type of approvals do they need from these regulatory agencies when into HPP as well? So we really have a comprehensive discussion with them. And as I said before, we try to have this very transparent discussion with them long before they even HPP the first product, so that everybody is aligned on the date that they first send the product to us. Their packaging is right, their regulatory compliance documentation is right, their expectations are right, and that we are in compliance with the needs of the customer. So again, it's a long series of questions. It's not difficult, but it's just important that these processes are followed before the brand enters its product into HPP and ultimately the market, because it's important that when they do go into HPP and they enter the market, that they have a success.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing those insights, Tom. To close out, I'd like to thank each attendee who joined us today. If you're looking for HPP tolling services in the US, feel free to visit Universal Pure at www.universalpure.com. If you have not tried Sofresco juices and smoothie bowls, please grab some at your local Publix and Myers. You can also learn more about their products on www.sofrescousa.com. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Douglas. And hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Thank you,
Take care.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.